I want to introduce our next speaker, Senior Director for KM Strategy at Verint. He's worked for over 30 years in the field of KM in many organizations, including Microsoft, Lotus, Cana, Knova, Primus, and Consortium for, I'm losing not only my voice, but my speaking ability, Consortium for Service Innovation. He's worked in all phases of customer support process, including telephone and online support, technical writing, KM applications development, and worldwide knowledge systems design. Please welcome John to talk to us today about KM practices to supercharge the power of AI. Please welcome John.
Note to self, don't follow Dan Pontefract. Hi guys, I'm John Chmaj. I'm going to talk a little bit about knowledge management. I certainly will not have dancing elephants or climbing giraffes, but I'll do the best I can. Last year I had a keynote and I talked about how we're trying to bring AI together, and all of us are trying to do that. I thought it would be useful this year to show how we're trying to chain that together to really form some really meaningful business processes. So I usually like to talk about trends in industry. Today I'm going to show some product, but I hopefully make a point about how you can work this together. So I was originally going to talk about that, and that was my initial abstract, and I realized it would take me longer than the 15 minutes to read the abstract. So I thought what I really wanted to talk about was, let's just look at how AI can be applied across the support interaction lifecycle. One of the things Dan talked about that really caught my interest is the poor support rep. I mean, how many of you guys are in the support and service domain? Anybody? Yeah. So I started out on the phones. I took 8,000 calls. Support agents in a tough position. They stand between the customer's needs and the organization's capabilities, and they're trying to translate that. Meanwhile, they got this desktop with 27 apps on it. Management's whipping them forward for their talk time. They're trying to find their own information, and the customer, as we say, is expressing an opinion about their problem. And wandering all over the place, and these poor guys have to find the information. So anything we can do to put a transaction support, automate a task for them, get the knowledge to them as they're working is gold for them and leads to less stress and burnout, really. So let's talk about the fact that we're still not meeting that need. 30 years later, my first knowledge application was built in DOS, and I shipped CD-ROMs to my customers. That was called the Chmaj. I had 1,000 customers, and that's how I did it. And we've still not solved many of these problems. Agents can't work across different channels like their case management system and their knowledge base and whatnot. We've got self-service is good, but not great yet. Support for digital channels like chat and all those different things in social media. High volume spikes. It's hard for organizations to keep up with vicissitudes in their business, and data is still siloed in different departments. So what's Verint doing about that? So we're working on an open platform that allows us to leverage all of our products. Verint makes about 40 different products: recording, quality management, speech analytics, IVA, voice of the customer, you name it. We do all the stuff to support organizations and support agents and customers in getting great information. And so the strategy is we put this stuff in a platform. It's a virtual platform. You don't have to buy all this stuff. You take the piece you need. But what we put in the middle is DaVinci AI, which I talked about last year. And we've got a whole bunch of research and applications, and we're able to vend these applications into all these capabilities into all the applications. It's an open platform. You can add other AI that you're using. You can add applications you use in your business. It's a service DaVinci. It does a couple things that I want you to think about. It manages the revision of the AI models. ChatGPT revs, what are you going to do? You paid some consultant to do 3.5, now you're in 4. It manages the compliance and legal aspects. It manages security and legal issues. It provides a service. Customers don't all, or most of them I would think, do not want to manage all that. They want the business benefit, and so we provide a hub, and I'll show you a little bit about how that works. So the guy who does all the work is the bot. So the metaphor of the bot is a small application that has a piece of AI in it made to optimize a particular business task. And the benefit there is I can create a more granular structure of where and when my AI plays in multiple different applications to do a specific job. So we've got upwards of 50 of these guys, and they work across the different applications. And I'm going to show the 5 ones over here, will be the main ones I show, to give you a sense of how they work in the knowledge management context. There's a containment, meaning a self-service bot, smart transfer to transfer calls in. We've got a knowledge automation bot, which does the RAG AI thing. We've got a coaching bot, knowledge suggestion bot, knowledge creation, all kinds of stuff. But the point is, you don't have to build a science project to get all this to work for you across all the different places where support takes place. So let's take a look at how that works. Basic website, you're looking for information. We've got knowledge management hooked into the IVA. We have a very intelligent AI-driven IVA. It can answer a lot of questions by itself. Every now and then you want to pop the right knowledge object is the thing you want to answer the question. So while the consumer, the self-help user is working, knowledge gets vended forward at appropriate points in the conversation. So now you're leveraging the right answer, the answer you want to give in the chat, and helping to move the customer forward to self-help. Well, what if the question can't get answered and needs to go into the contact center? So you get into a desktop, and now you've got something we call a transfer bot. So this little guy, he takes the context of the chat interaction and summarizes it. So now a support agent, one less point of stress. They don't have to read this whole chat while the customer's waiting, try to tell them stuff they already know from the chat they gave, and get busy working on the problem wherever it stood when they contacted the contact center. So that summarization bot allows them to move forward. Maybe it's a different person that gets this call, right? Gets the chat. So it allows them to move forward intelligently. Customer feels great. You know my problem. You're working it forward for me. I'm a happy guy, right? On the desktop, there's other stuff happening. There's a coaching bot that's telling them, oh, here's some of the things you can do. Here's how you might optimize what you're going to solve. Here's some data on the latest promotions or information you need to know while you're solving this. If you're a newer agent, here's some tips and tricks on how to solve this kind of problem, because it's triggered by the context of what's happened so far from the interaction. Here's where knowledge comes in. You've got a knowledge suggestion bot, which is dynamically listening to this conversation. What's the customer? What's the product they're asking about? What's any questions they've asked so far? You've got a lot of context right in front of you about what's been happening. And so you can start to vend knowledge forward dynamically and automatically while the agent's working, what we call zero-click knowledge. I don't have to search. I don't have to figure out what to ask. The system is prompting me with some answers that I need. And so that's super helpful. And so now I'm acting more efficiently. I've got more confidence in my answers. I'm giving the right information. If you've got a new promotion, I'm not giving yesterday's answer because that's all I knew. So there's a lot of benefit to this approach in making the agent efficient, confident, and also accurate. Now we move forward into what we do. We have our own copilot, right? So this is like a copilot. It's a floating helper. It's also got knowledge in it, and you can use the knowledge automation bot, which I'm going to talk about in a minute, to provide GenAI answers while the agent's working. It's got a bunch of other features that the copilot assists in the agent's interaction. So this is sort of a targeted or tailored copilot that works with the agent. You can have it on or off various screens that you work in and providing the information you need. So you start to get the feel, right? The agent is no longer an island unto themselves. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but when I used to do knowledge management before a lot of this stuff came about, nobody knew what the agents really did to solve problems. They could tell you about their talk time, they could tell you what queue they're in, they could tell you what customer satisfaction scores they have, but we don't bother them with the troubleshooting part. Just let them figure it out. And you go over to their cube, they've got 25 Post-its on the wall, and they got little notepads, they got 400 bookmarks. They're desperately trying to collate everything they need to do their jobs. Now it's coming to them while they're working. I mean, just think of the psychological impact of that, much less the productivity. Now I feel like I can really get with the thing I'm supposed to do, which is talk to my customers and engage them and make them happy and successful. So there's a paradigm shift here that AI can help bring the right information to the right people at the right time. So let's hone in a little bit, once we get past the copilot, about what we're trying to do with knowledge management. And I think we're on the precipice, or the verge of, precipice is not a good word. You saw the slide, the kid's slide. I had one like that at my school as a kid, except it was asphalt. You guys remember the asphalt playgrounds? Anyways, if you're inside KM, the classic challenge is content. KM is the purveyor of content. The point of content of KM is a content dating service. Customer seeking data for loving experience 5 minutes long, right? So that's what it is. And so how do you build that knowledge base, right? This is the number one thing a lot of us vendors here is self-knowledge management. The customer, how am I going to build this thing? I got all this content all in my organization. How do I connect all those assets into what I'm doing? How do I tag them up and organize them? How do I create a great search experience across all that stuff? And how do I leverage that across all my channels and all the different lines of business I sell? That's the business problem. And most people in this room are familiar with it. I like talking to you guys too, because we're all talking the same talk. We got the same problems. So I've got to use this content across my business from all these different sources. Welcome the Knowledge Automation Bot. So the Knowledge Automation Bot is sort of, we've started with a paradigm shift. We're trying to do something, we're trying to jump ahead, and you'll see in a second what we're doing. We're trying to connect to the content sources in your organization immediately, okay? For starters, I'm not going to migrate, recurate, re-architect my stuff. I'll get to that in a minute. But let me just take some of the GenAI I have right now and point it at the stuff I need to use. I can stand that up in 30 days. I can start to use the power of large language models to get my answers started. Now, those of us in knowledge management, which is most or all of us, know that curation is still very important. But you want to start with this notion of, I've got my RAG answer that comes up from my query. I'm looking at the top documents that contributed to that answer, and I can research those documents. I can get my direct answer. If the question I asked has a direct answer, sometimes GenAI can derive a stepwise table of things. It can derive particular prescriptions. I win. I'm done, right? But if I need to do more research, I can look at the subsidiary objects and start to dig in deeper to what I need to do. This can knock your call time back by a significant amount. I used to get hammered by people about search. Is search fast? Is search accurate? Is search accurate? I finally, out of frustration, drew a pie chart on the wall, on the whiteboard. I said, look, how much time do you spend? That's 1 minute. How much time do you spend searching? 1 or 2, 5, 10 seconds to search. How much time do you spend looking at the results slides? 10, 15 seconds. So you're telling me 3/4 of your time is spent reading. You're really here to read information and provide it to your customer, right? So we can bang on search all we want, but we've got to be able to absorb the content. So the big benefit is if I can give you direct answers and start getting you started with that, I'm making progress. And you've seen this work, right? You've got Da Vinci now is vending out the latest vetted, accurate, compliant, secure AI to you. And it comes from inside your company, so my hallucinations are minimized. I know I'm saying the right thing because my company wrote it, right? So I can assess this information, give you the right answers, and now I see the evidence-based reasoning. I can see what it came up with and open those documents if I want to while I'm working, and I get the top related content in front of me. So I'm still getting search results, but if I might be able to get right at the answer, or even if not, get a sense of what it is I can talk about to the customer. Now, let's be honest, I'm an old knowledge management guy, curation, I curate, therefore I am. Not all content is going to just jump off the page from all the inside resources you have in your company, but it gets you started, it gets you in the game. Imagine, in 30 days, I'm using knowledge for my business. What does this do for me? A, whenever it works, it's productivity gain instantly. But B, I start to see what kinds of knowledge really works in my organization, and I start to examine what kind of content I really need to curate. I don't know about you guys, but I got a couple customers who have done the death knell of KM. It all has to be in the knowledge base. It makes me cringe. It all has to be in the knowledge base. No, it doesn't. The most important stuff you use, which may be quite a bit, needs to be in the knowledge base. And so we have to come back a year later when they've dumped 20,000 pieces of God knows what in their knowledge base. Oh, my agents say search doesn't work. Search works, your content doesn't work. So you've got to start thinking about what your content is. We can get you in the game right away with this content that you've spidered from websites, SharePoints, whatnot, and then start transitioning to a knowledge management system. Or bring your own. It's an open platform. I've talked to multiple customers, you guys, this week about different platforms you want to use. You've already got this stuff going. We can sell this as a standalone bot. It stands by itself, doesn't have a KM system. If you want to add in our KM, fantastic, full-featured system. If not, you're in the game, right? So this is a valuable thing. Now, we've got another little bot guy. This is the knowledge creation bot. Some of you may be using something like this. I've got to migrate some big, complicated content. I've got content that's got 4 answers baked in 20 pages. Health insurance, financial service organizations hand you a big policy document, and really your customers only want the 5th paragraph. So let me summarize this information. Let me select the areas I care about, summarize them with GenAI in seconds, and then jumpstart my authoring process. And at the end, I'm publishing real KM articles, all right? And so finally, we've got a data insights bot that can give you great analytics. I'll probably be talking about more of that next year. At the end of the day, you can save a ton of money. It sounds like $40 million sounds like pie in the sky, but it's not. If I've got 2,000 agents, imagine how many millions of calls I'm taking. If I can shave off 30 seconds with transfer, 45 seconds with knowledge automation, 45 seconds with the coaching bot, 30, 60 seconds with the wrap-up bot, I'm saving a ton of money, and my agents are more productive, my customers are getting answers faster. So you deliver knowledge from day one, you build on it, you add curation, and you're in the business of using AI and starting to get the most out of it as you optimize your knowledge creation. I made 15 minutes, Jane. There we go. Thank you all. Appreciate it.